Some residents speak out against the city's proposal to give up green space for home construction. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Residents in several neighborhoods with parkettes are fighting back against the city's plan to sell those lots to developers.
The plan was announced by the Realty Services Division earlier this week to help meet Thunder Bay's ambitious housing target. Nev Van Pelt spoke with some of the property owners, and she joins us in studio. Nev, how has the public responded to the proposal?
Haley, city officials are giving neighboring residents a chance to provide feedback ahead of their presentation to council on June 3rd. And they're already receiving a lot of backlash about some of the properties they plan to put up for sale. The residents say they don't want those green spaces turned into housing units. Back in 2017, the residents of Holly Crescent were confronted with a similar proposal to turn this parkette into housing. And after hearing their concerns about the plan, City Council chose to invest in the green space rather than sell it. Longtime resident of Holly Crescent, Barb Crow, says everyone in the neighborhood is frustrated this is happening again, and they've been contacting city councilors about their concerns.
There were, so many different quotes from Corey Halverson and some of the others at the time who saw the need for these green spaces, and it is essentially part of the city's mandate also with greening the city and that, and yes, we do have to do, the intensification and urban infill, but there are so many streets that end in dead ends, and why take away the parkettes when they add so much to the life of the city?
Out of the 8 pieces of land being considered, 6 are parkettes. Crow believed 100% of the Holly Crescent neighborhood didn't support the city's plans, and after polling Thornlow Drive, resident of that neighborhood, Nathan Hewitson, says he found unanimous opposition of the city's proposal.
The neighborhood's 50 years old. Nothing is going to conform to, as they say, the built form of the neighborhood or its cosmetic appearance. It has environmental repercussions. It seems odd to be developing green space in other areas of town and then trying to ruin it in others. And I don't think anybody's going to build anything here that's going to get anybody who's precariously housed out of that situation.
Residents say the parkettes are a big part of their neighborhood's identity and are used by everybody.
You have people over here, throwing a ball with their dogs, little kids, come and play in that, and it's used quite extensively. Often is used for access for the hydro property as well, in which people will walk out there and then they'll come back here with their dogs and that. So it doesn't sit empty, is what we're saying.
It's raining, there's kids playing here. They're playing on a park on the other side of the neighborhood. It just doesn't make any sense to infill it with housing.
The city's Realty Services Division will continue to take in feedback from the public, and a synopsis will be provided to council during their presentation on June 3rd. Nev Van Pelt, TBT News.
The city of Thunder Bay can still look forward to a mining boom, but it will be a couple years further out than expected. That's according to the Community Economic Development Commission, which released its updated mining readiness strategy this week. The CEDC is now projecting that mining jobs will peak in 2028, 2 years later than previously projected. CEO Jamie Taylor says the pandemic and fluctuating markets are among the reasons for the delay. It's not the only change since the original report was released in 2020. New business opportunities have been identified, as has an increased need for local suppliers. A lack of available land in the city has become a concern. New labor force and education gaps have been identified, along with a lack of employment opportunities for the spouses of mine workers.
Mining is one of our main sectors here. Although there's no mines in the city of Thunder Bay proper, we are a regional hub. We have over 400 businesses listed in our service and supply directory, providing services to the mines in the region. A lot of the companies need just-in-time service in terms of whether it's repair or equipment backup. And there are some gaps in our current local supply and service, so we'll be looking at opportunities to fill those gaps and attract those companies to Thunder Bay.
The CEDC has also launched a new and improved mining service and supply directory, which is more user-friendly, highlights Indigenous-owned businesses, and allows companies to indicate when they're hiring.
Gold is officially flowing at the Greenstone gold mine. The company announced its first gold pour this week on schedule. The first pour took place on Wednesday, producing 1,800 ounces of gold. All equipment operated as expected, according to a release from Equinox Gold. Once it's operating at full capacity, the mine is projected to produce roughly 400,000 ounces of gold a year for the first 5 years. It's then expected to gradually decline for a yearly average of 360 ounces of gold over the expected 14-year lifespan. The first major pour is a major milestone for the mine.
Work is on hold again at the site of the new headquarters for the Lake Superior National Marine Conservation Area in Nipigon. It's the second work stoppage in less than a month. The first stoppage occurred after a bone was found in the excavated material on May 8th, just 4 days after a groundbreaking ceremony was held for the $37 million Parks Canada facility. The bone was later confirmed not to be human. A number of objects dating from the mid to late 1900s were also uncovered. Site manager Lisa Nyman says construction stopped as soon as they were alerted to the bone, and work restarted on May 16th. The project was then stopped again this past Tuesday. Parks Canada officials have no comment at this time as to the reason for that second work stoppage.
Starting this summer, Ontario is expanding the sale of alcoholic drinks to licensed grocery stores.
Then convenience stores can follow suit after Labor Day. As CTV's Siobhan Morris tells us, this wasn't expected until 2025.
The Premier doesn't drink alcohol, but has been pledging for years to put it in closer reach.
We're getting it done faster. In fact, we're getting it done starting this summer.
Starting August 1st, grocers and big box stores that already sell alcohol can add boozy seltzers, pre-mixed drinks, and bigger cases of beer, up to 30.
And on September the 5th, convenience stores like this one will be able to sell beer, cider, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic beverages.
And starting Halloween, more big retailers can sell booze if they're licensed. The expansion more than a year ahead of schedule. To make it happen, $225 million taxpayer dollars goes to the beer store through the transition.
Where it's going is to make sure that we protect the beer store employees, to make sure they know they're going to be taken care of. We're going to audit every single penny to make sure it's going in the right place.
That includes keeping a minimum number of stores open. But with hospitals under strain, municipal infrastructure buckling.
How is paying $225 million to accelerate alcohol sales the place that money should go?
Well, thank you for that, and I'll just rattle off a few things. When it comes to patient...
Boasting about high spending on health care, and Ontario ranking well compared to other provinces for access to primary care. From Ontarians, a cocktail of feelings about these changes.
People are looking for convenience at this time, so if it works for people.
I'm worried about my young kids, so they shouldn't be able to have that easy access to go and get it from the convenience store.
That's fantastic. Makes it easy for everybody. Everybody's happy.
Well, not everybody. The Retail Council of Canada, speaking for big grocers, calls this a sweetheart deal for the multinational companies that own the beer store. A gift from taxpayers, while pushing recycling costs onto grocers and consumers. And members will have to take a serious look at whether or not selling alcohol under this framework makes sense. For entirely different reasons, the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health is also disappointed.
And really feel like this is a choice of convenience over Ontarians' health and well-being.
CAMH says alcohol plays a role in 6,000 deaths a year in Ontario, a number they expect to rise.
We're really worried about violence and domestic violence, which is already seeing increases, and we know how linked that is to alcohol. We're worried about DUIs.
The Premier acknowledges there will be speed bumps navigating a change of this size and scope.
But I'm confident we'll get through those bumps.
This sped-up timeline is fueling speculation the Premier may call an early election. Today, Doug Ford wouldn't commit to keeping the vote in June 2026, but he did commit to getting his agenda through. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Ontario will move to automatic license plate renewals on July 1st. Premier Doug Ford announced the plan for automatic renewals back in the winter, but there was no date for it to begin. The automatic renewals will only be available for drivers in good standing. Those with parking tickets or toll bills will still have to do it manually. The Ford government previously ended annual registration fees for license plates, but right now drivers are still required to renew their plates on their birthday each year.
There's a call for action to help families facing uncertainty following the province's latest daycare funding delay.
The Ford government says it'll implement a new funding model for the national $10 a day program next year. But many daycares say they're at risk of closing before then. Here's CTV's Beth McDonnell.
Sending children to $10 a day daycare has been a lifeline for many parents. 150 spaces in the Roncesvalles area could vanish by the end of the year if more money doesn't materialize soon.
Affordable daycare is essential for families like mine, communities like this, but more than that, the entire economy of Ontario.
Sunnyside Garden Daycare is nonprofit. In a letter to municipal and provincial politicians, the daycare says while it did receive funds through its service manager, which is the city, to stay afloat, the money can't be used for operational costs, and instead it was told it had too much staff and pay raises were too excessive.
We can't deny that we are in a higher income neighborhood, but when the whole point of the $10 a day program was to introduce universal childcare, and I don't think our experience is unique. It's an experience that's being felt across the province, including for centers that are situated in neighborhoods that provide care for lower income families.
The Toronto Community for Better Childcare says it's aware of more than 20 centers facing deficit budgets. The Association of Early Childhood Educators Ontario says federal money in 2022 covered costs between parent fees with public dollars, but doesn't account for the real cost of a childcare program,
including paying decent wages to early childhood educators and childcare staff. And it hasn't accounted for rising costs because of inflation, increased wages, those types of things. So it's become more difficult over the last 2 years as the revenue is sort of stagnant.
Advocates say the Ontario government needs to release its funding formula so the sector can plan and have stability.
The government has the funding formula ready, but is not sharing with childcare providers until January 2025. Why the delay? Share the funding formula now.
An education ministry official says the funding formula is being finalized and will be announced this year and will be ready to be rolled out in 2025. In a statement to CTV, a spokesperson for the Minister of Education says National Child Care is the federal government's signature program. We will keep cutting fees for parents, but the federal government needs to step up with funding or this program will fail across the country. 92% of Ontario's childcare centres opted into the $10 a day program. Advocates and parents want it to work. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
After months of work and input from students, Thunder Bay's first French public school has a permanent name.
It's now called École Publique des Vents du Nord, which roughly translates to Northern Winds School. The celebration event was held this morning. Vasilios Bellos was there.
Thunder Bay's first French public school has its official name.
Un, deux, trois, go!
The school on Victoria Avenue is now called École Publique des Vents du Nord, which in English means Northern Winds Public School. It first opened in September, with the name reveal event on Friday featuring students, their families, and faculty.
Having a small school, it's like having a large family.
Principal Oysam Wan says the name and new logo featuring the sleeping giant was thanks in large part to discussions with their students.
We talked about different things that are important to Thunder Bay, the water, the community, a little bit of the history. We talked about the vegetation and animals all around, things that were important to them, activities that they did with their families, and tried to include as much as possible, one for the name, for the logo, and then future mascots as well.
During the name reveal event, there were a number of performances by the students, showing off their talents. That includes grade 7 student Nicholas Dashu, who talked about how everyone has grown closer during the first year the school's been open.
Everyone knows each other. We all know our names. Everything is just all together. The principal is really good. It's just a great feeling and community to be in here.
23 students were enrolled here for the inaugural year at Thunder Bay's first French public school. Officials anticipate that number will continue to grow as more families become interested in French education. Vasilios Bellos, TVT News.
Meanwhile, École Franco-Supérieure has been celebrating its 45th anniversary. A special dinner was held for alumni, parents, and employees on Sunday, and then yesterday, an after-school carnival was held to bring past, present, and future students together for an event that captured the full vibrancy of the Francophone community. The carnival was bustling with activities, games, and the smell of popcorn and poutine. Although the school has changed locations and names several times over the course of its development, it has roots as the first French school in Thunder Bay. Currently, the school has more than 300 students from kindergarten to grade 6. The faculty is a testament to the impact that the school has had, and around 13 staff are also alumni. This includes Principal Marie-Claude D'Agazio, who understands that fun is a key element to keep French culture strong within education.
We do a lot of fun things, so I think that's also one of the things that stick with them. You know, we have our traditional Christmas dinner, we have our Franco-Ontarien Day on the 25th of September, we have our Winter Carnival, we bring artists into our school to get them to enjoy music and French singing, and so I think because we do so much of the cultural aspect, you know, it sticks with them, and they just love their school, and they are always happy to come back.
For 45 years, you look around, all these families, all these kids. For 45 years, they've chosen Francophone education, and they've trusted us with their children year after year, and this is what keeps the language and the culture alive, so that is great cause for celebration.
The school has also planned a special performance from famous Francophone musician Brian St. Pierre for students and staff on May 31st.
Sounds like it'll be a fun time.
Oh, for sure.
All right, let's turn our attention to the weather now, Fiona. Not a lot of fun had this morning. It was a chilly one. You warned us about it, and it came to fruition.
You know, I try to be positive about the weather no matter what, but the only thing I'm positive of is that it was cold. This is definitely not what we expect to see at this time of year. 9 Celsius, we should be hitting 20, 21 and the like. Mostly cloudy skies. We had a low of 4, and winds were from the east, so off the lake it felt cool, 18 to 40 kilometers per hour under mostly cloudy skies. Now, across the region this afternoon, you can see the rain building in, bubbling in, and inching its way towards Thunder Bay, already starting to be felt to the west, and with it, cool temperatures. Now, Fort Frances started out with 7 Celsius, warmed up to 13, but as the rain has moved in, temperatures have taken a bit of a hit. They're now at 9. Similar in Dryden, Kenora. Red Lake at their high for the day under mostly cloudy skies, but the rain is literally knocking on their door. It is just about to hit. We're in double digits in Pickle Lake, and loads of sunshine for Greenstone and Armstrong, both at 15, as is Nipigon. Marathon currently 17, so quite an improvement over yesterday. Wawa at 18, 20 in Sault Ste. Marie under increasing clouds. Those are their highs for the day, but you can tell that cool air is going to try to push its way in. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to drop down to a low of 5 tonight, so similar temperatures to last night. But this evening, we have potential thunderstorms and 10 to 15 millimeters starting. That should end by tomorrow morning for the most part, so I still say the weekend is actually not going to be as bad as it could be, but it is going to be a gray start, and I'll have more details on how that'll all work out later on in the news hour.
Okay, yeah, we've had some gray and wet weather in May. Hopefully June brings things that, what am I trying to say? Hopefully June's nicer.
Sunshine,
yeah. June is nicer, yes, yes. All right, let's turn our attention to international news now. It's another sign of the international community's growing dissatisfaction with Israel's offensive in Gaza. Today, the UN's top court has ordered Israel to stop its military operation in Rafah, but will it have any effect? We'll delve into that question and more when your Friday News Hour continues after the break.
Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate.